Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Catherine and this is the final wrap up, part 2 of #March Mystery Madness. So these are the final few books that I haven't already reviewed for you. So the first one, I'm just having a nice cup of tea. The first one, which I'll put a picture up here, is Too Close to Breathe. Now this is a new one that's out by Olivia Kiernan, and 5th of April, so it came out this week, and I was sent this from the publishers for a review, and I absolutely loved it. Really enjoyed it. It was 5-star read for me. I wasn't sure, it's a police procedural, so I wasn't sure if I'd be able to tackle it with, you know, my mood at the moment. You know, when you're going through grieving, it's funny, you're not quite sure whether a book's going to suit you or not till you pick it up and start it, I've found. But this was great, so I'm just going to read out some points from my review. Actually, it'd be easier than trying to remember everything. What I did feel about this is I used to love Patricia Cornwell in the early days. I don't like her books so much now. The Case Scarpetta series, the earlier books were absolutely fantastic. I think they've got a little bit the muchness now. But I've been waiting for a long time for somebody with a, you know, to give me that buzz about a character, shall we say, the same as Case Scarpetta, and I feel that I've received that in this book. We've got D.I. Frankenstein, and I've put here, it has taken me a long time for me to connect to a police procedural work of fiction to match the early days of Patricia Cornwell's Case Scarpetta series, and I have to say, here it is, as I've just said. Be warned, this book is not for the faint-hearted. It is quite gritty, it is quite grisly in places, it is quite graphic. It features our main protagonist, D.I. Frankenstein, who is investigating a murder case, which initially was made to look like a suicide. Straight away I liked her character. She's very strong, determined, she's very good at her job. But we get the sense that something's happened in the not too distant past that has sort of rocked her world and made her lose her confidence a little bit. You can just sense that little bit of vulnerability about her, which I liked. Yeah. So I've put this as a plot is fast paced, it's very complex, which I like if it's written well, compelling and cleverly executed, although be warned, the content at times is gritty, dark, graphic, with scenes of disturbing sexual themes throughout. So that can be, you know, I'm not prudish by any means, but, you know, it can be a little bit strong in places. My only criticism being that I think the swearing was overused. I felt there were places where, yeah, the odd F and Jeff would have been well placed. It was relevant to the horrific things that they were seeing, and they would have then had their place. But I found that in general living amongst the police colleagues, to me there was far too much swearing used just in general conversation, so I didn't think that was necessary. I think that would put some viewers off. However, I think that it wasn't enough for me to take any star rating away from it. I thought this was an excellent book. I'm hoping to hear more. I think it's going to be a series, and this is her debut, and I really enjoyed that. So that's Too Close to Breathe by Olivia Kiernan. So the next one I also want to that I want to go through, and I'm just going to find it on my NetGalley, because again I've got quite a bit to say about this one. And yeah, this is the opposite end of the scale. So we go from a 5-star to 1-star, and I'm not sure how this will go down with you guys. and this one is The Cows. Now this is by Donna Porter, and it came out this week. This came out on the 7th of April, and I'm just trying to get to my review here. Now, it's had a lot of hype already, this book. You may have already heard a lot about it. She's a bit of a comedian. She's a comedian. I think she does. She has quite a lot to say on women's rights. Quite a lot of I like her. She's very strong-willed. She has a lot of opinions and not afraid to say them. And this book is supposed to be really a strong feminist book, representational about empowering women. And I was sent an early copy of this for my review, and I'm sorry, it was 1 star. I put here, I was really excited to get to this. I was ready for a funny read featuring women in an independent and empowering way. This is what I was expecting from the publicity. Unfortunately, if a woman masturbating on public transport, where someone secretly filmed it for all the world to see, is deemed to show women in a good light, then I must misunderstand the concept. I expected this to be honest, funny, with no holding back. For me, it was annoying and demeaning. I think it's a Marmite sort of book. I think you love it or you hate it. There's loads of 5-star reviews for this. It's either 5-star reviews or people actually felt the same as me. Actually, you know, there's more to it. There's three women, and because of this actual incident going global on social media, then there's a connection here. I don't actually think doing something like that is empowering women, you know, in public places. No, I don't think so. You know, if a man did that, they'd be arrested and carted off. So, you know, and I also think women should be as well. It isn't the place, and so therefore I think it's, for me, it did everything against what it sets out to do. So that's just my opinion. I always say with books that I rate, you know, low star, go and read it for yourself. I mean, it's certainly getting the hype, and even if people hate it, then obviously we get, you know, she's getting the sales and people are talking about it and people have got an opinion on it, and so therefore in a way a very good marketing strategy. Hello my lovely. And I haven't got anything to give you. It's after my tea again. Look, get down a minute because Mummy's filming. So that came out this week. I'd be very interested to see. Probably the whole world or the whole booktube community will think it's marvellous and it's just me. You know, as you all know, stop it, Nelson. No, you're not having my tea. I'm putting it on there a minute. As you know, I'm a very open-minded person, but I think that's the concept of it. I found it a bit monotonous. So there we go. Obviously I've left the picture of the cover that's coming out this week there. So next we'll have number 5 of Bruno, Chief of Police, set in the Donoghue. This is The Devil's Cave, Martin Walker. So as you know, I'm reading along this series. I'm really enjoying Bruno as a character. This is just another case. We're meeting all the usual characters in the Donoghue. We're continuing to find out a bit more about Bruno's love life. And this was an interesting one because there was some sort of a black magic cult that that's been, what's the word, not cracked, but they've been found out, and they are involved in the latest murder. And yeah, very interesting, and it was quite exciting. We've got this chateau, and we have helicopters flying around and all sorts. It's very much like Bruno, Chief of Police meets James Bond, So yeah, really enjoyed this one, and I'm carrying on with the series. So yeah, I think you have to start at the beginning to start really with this one, so you can get full enjoyment. So next I'll leave a picture up here of Ninja Pug. And this is the Retrieving Stolen Books by Amma Lee. You may recall that Nelson recommended this as one of his Great Dog Detective reads. I've got it on my Kindle. I gave it 3 stars. It was an okay, it's a middle grade. Probably I was expecting a bit more from it than it actually delivered. But yeah, it was an okay, easy read, nice for the kids to read. Yeah, and I gave it 3 stars. So next, Don't Let Go by Michel Bussi. As you all know, I've read a couple others of Michel Bussi, the translated from the French, and this one was translated by Sam Taylor, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I'm sure I've already reviewed this. I seem to remember talking about it a lot because we're on this paradise at French Island. So I have. Yeah, I'm sure I have. So yeah, go to part 1. It suddenly hit me that I've already reviewed this one. But yeah, great. Don't Let Go. Now, there's just a couple that I want to introduce to you that I was sent for review from NetGalley over February and March period, and I started reading them and I just couldn't cope with them. They just weren't suitable just because of the grief, but the concept of them is exciting, and at some stage I definitely will review them. You know, I've contacted the publishers and let them know why I'm not able to do that at the moment, but I think they are going to be a really good read, and therefore I still wanted to show them to you. So I think we've got, there's a couple here, yeah, 2. So first, and obviously these, I've got these on my Kindle. So the first is called The Memory Chamber, and this is by Holly Cave. It's from Quercus, and this came out on the 22nd of February. Now, the concept of this is there's a bit of a dystopian, a bit of a fantasy element to this, but I was really, when I sent for it, obviously not knowing what was going to happen with my mum, but this is the concept of you being able to plan your afterlife. And you go along to what they call special gifted people called heaven architects, and you go and discuss with them. So I suppose it's like people booking the wishes for a funeral. You go and discuss with them what elements of your current life you'd like still to have in your heaven, as it were, what things you'd want differently, and I really like the concept of this. Yeah, I am a very spiritual person. I do believe, you know, there is life after death. I don't think it's quite, you know, you go to somebody and you book it. I can see you, Nelson. Yeah, he's got his head in there after my cup of tea. He's being a bit of a monkey. What you doing? Yes. We're watching you. Yeah, the whole world's watching you trying to get my tea. So, we'll move it from there. And I'll keep it here now. That was going to be about sitting on my knee now. Yes, so I really like the concept of this. I started reading it and just couldn't, you know, it's not the right time for me. But go and give that a look out and see if it's something that you'd like to try. Certainly we'll be reading it in the future. So the next one is The Only Child, and this is by Rhiannon and Navin. and this is a Pan Macmillan, and this came out on the 8th of March. Now, this is about a school shooting, middle grade age, and although it's taking place in America, and obviously it's very relevant. There's so many upsetting school shootings going on, and you know, at the moment in London, I was quite shocked at how many young people have lost their lives over the Easter period. You know, gang warfare and shooting, and you know, like here it's not as easy to get hold of guns as it is in the States, but it's still happening and people are still being killed. And this reminded me of going back to my eldest son Adam. He's 26 now, so going back to when he was 5, he would have been in this first year of the infants here, and we had the awful Dunblane massacre in Scotland over here, and that was horrendous, and so many children and teachers lost their lives. And this very much reminds me of that. I suppose for each and every one that would read it, it would remind you of something that jog your memory of something similar where you come from. And I think I started reading this, and it was all the trauma of one of the children was safe, one wasn't. And you know, as a parent, and especially when Dunblane happened, it was the same year class that my son was in, and you think, well, you know, thank you, there of the grace of God go I. And I started reading this, and obviously it's going through the parents trying to find one's safe, one isn't, what's happened. And it goes on then to look at how the family handle this and the grief and everything. So I think it will be a fantastic book to read. It's just I just can't cope with it at the moment. So I really felt that they're not mysteries as such, although I've put them in my March Mystery Madness wrap up. I just wanted to add those two in because you know, I thought they were important books that have come out. Finally, before I go on to the Agatha Christie book read for March Mystery Madness, I just want to remind you of the book giveaway. So, because I've been hosting March Mystery Madness, I decided to do a giveaway. There we go. Trying to do a 3D, but it doesn't work. And this is Wallace of the Secret Service series 7, 8 and 9. Sorry I couldn't get any early editions. This is by Alexander Wilson. And we have Wallace at Bay, Wallace Intervenes, and Chronicles of the Secret Service. So I definitely thought we needed some crime fiction as a prize, and a thank you to everybody. Now, this is your last chance, guys. The rules: you've got to be subscribed to my channel, you need to be over 18, because these aren't middle grade books, and you need to have written a comment on every single March Mystery Madness video. Now, so far there's not that many people that are in the running for this, so get in there, guys, while you can. So that's a reminder of that. And then finally, Murder on the Orient Express, Agatha Christie. Now, I've Di very kindly from Disis. She very kindly set me up a page on Goodreads, and a few of you have been writing in your comments on there on what you thought. I have to say I only gave it 2 stars. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, I'm a big Poirot fan, and after I'd read this, I'd never actually seen the TV, you know, the British TV adaptation of Poirot of this particular book. And I love John Suchet, is it? David Suchet. David. Thank you, David. Thank you, my David, for telling me it's David. David Suchet, who plays Poirot, is my favourite one for playing Poirot. And after I read the book, we watched that, and I enjoyed the TV adaptation much better. This was dragged on. I didn't like the fact that it was split into 3 parts. It really, like, excuse the pun, it compartmentalised everything. We had, oh, this is the beginning. This is what happened, and this is everybody being interviewed, and then this is the outcome. And it was, nothing flowed right for me. It wasn't intermingled. I don't think there was, I mean, it was a stupid ending, sorry, but it was absolutely a ridiculous ending. It was far-fetched. I don't think there was anything to lead us to believe that that's what the ending would be. To be fair, I think, you know, I had my suspicions who I thought was involved, but I don't think it was well written, actually, and that pains me to say that, because I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, I'm a big Poirot fan, but I thought it was dreadful. So I don't know what the new film's like. Let me know if you've seen the new film. This is the new film cover, so we've got all, obviously, the up-to-date characters there. I found it mundane, I found it boring, I found it uninteresting. I'm trying to think of all the adjectives here. And unrealistic, and I feel a bit bad that I chose this for the group read, but yeah, didn't know, you know, and it's got so much hype. I actually think Murder on the Blue Train, let me have a look at, excuse me, Mystery on the Blue Train, not murder. Mystery on the Blue Train, that's a much better one. Similar, but I enjoyed that one. Much better plot to it, much more interesting. So yeah, they're nice, these 125th edition, anniversary edition, and they're really nice covers. So folks, there we go. That's everything that that wraps up March. We've all had a fantastic time. I'd like to thank LizziefayeLovesBooks, which is my lovely friend Elizabeth, and Di and Troy, who originally set this going, and all the other fantastic hosts. There's about 20 of us that's done it this year. There's been some amazing stuff. I'll leave all their links down below. I'll leave social media information down below so you can catch up with everything everybody's done, and see you all again for #March Mystery Madness next year. Bye for now.